Hi, welcome to Naughty But Norse.
Hello.
I'm Amanda, your host, and this is my co-host Chris.
Hello. I'm not allowed to blink this time to indicate danger.
You're so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, we were wanting to talk about, so we're both very interested in gaming, and that's actually how we met. And so we wanted to sort of get this podcast to be about gaming, all different kinds of games, new, old, and just give our point of view of it.
Yeah. Warning, certain topics might get a little dicey. We're going to try and keep Star Wars out of this.
Yes.
Because that one's a big one. But other than that, I know we have a few other ones that we're just not going to approach.
Not right in the beginning, at least.
Yeah.
We'll see, maybe later on.
Don't want to make everyone uncomfortable right out the gate.
But yeah, so let's jump right into it. With if you hear anything moving or breathing heavily nearby.
It's not me. It's actually the dog.
Yes, it's our tiny dog.
Our 1-year-old puppy who weighs about 120 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a goofball.
But so today's topic, if there was, what game series would you want to see turned into a movie or a TV show?
For me, it's always going to be the same answer. It's always going to be Mass Effect. Just because I would love to see that series actually blossom and bloom, kind of how a bunch of other games have gotten to. It was, in my opinion, way before its time. And it basically set the standard for what I view when it comes to my gaming at all. Especially my single-player games. Like, I have a very high expectation, and it's very hard to keep me focused on a game for a very long time because I'll get bored. I've played through all the Mass Effect games at least 15 times through. And that's minimum. I think that they were the perfect game series, and I would love to see it brought to light in the big screen. Whether it be a TV show version, which I think would be probably the better option, because there's so much in each of the games. It would have to be broken out into several different things. I don't think you could do a trilogy, even movie. Like, if you try to stick all the stuff from the game into a movie and make it a 3-part movie, still don't think you'd be able to do everything.
There's a lot of lore.
There's a lot of lore, and there's just a lot of fine details that would need to be involved with it. It's going to be very hard to do some of the characters, just due to the fact that Miranda is based off of a very popular actress. So
I didn't know that. Who?
She's got a Russian name or Ukrainian name.
Oh.
Ivan Strakovsky. No, hang on, hang on.
2 hours later.
Yeah, I'm not a fast person. Yeah, Ivan Strakovsky. I was right.
Oh.
She was, I think, a model for a while, and then she started doing movies. Yeah. So she would be really cool if actually she would be able to play the part of Miranda. I think that would be really awesome.
That would be cool.
And there's also another must-have. You have to have John Goodman play Rex, because that's who is Rex in the first her first games.
Oh.
Another very big, famous actor. So it would get expensive if they. And I mean, for goodness sakes, Anderson is probably one of the most famous voice actors that is out when it comes to gaming. I also can't remember his name off the top of my head, but For those who have played Mass Effect, they know. They know. They know exactly who I'm talking about, and they could hear him in their brain, because I'm also doing that right now. But if they were able to get the cast together for it, I think it would make an amazing series, because you can just get so emotionally invested, just like you do in the games.
The risk I see, though, is since it's such a big game and it has a lot of lore, there's a very fine line to like not get too much lore in there, so they would overdo it and not take as much away.
That's why I think making it a TV series would make it a lot easier.
It would.
They'd be able to add so much more to it.
Yes, but it's also... Oh, hi, Pupper. It's still that very fine line to walk on. Considering that with so much lore, like some of it, depending on when they go in, do the show, they can't bring everything in.
I mean, if they really wanted to have more freedom, which there is that option too, because yes, doing it off the base 3 games would make it a little bit binding. They would kind of have to stick to what's there. If they want to go off script a little bit, because there is lore on it, but there's not like an overwhelming amount of lore on it. But they could do the Krogan Wars, they could do the Turian Wars, which was one of the biggest wars of that era. Was the Turians against the Human Alliance, when the humans first were able to start exploring deep space, because they found the artifact on Mars that advanced their technology by 1,000 years. But
that's what I'm
that
saying.
They could do, and they have a lot more freedom, and it would involve the aspects of having the Krogans and the Turians and the Solarians, because the Solarians are the ones that made it to where the Krogans can no longer breed anymore. So it's awesome. It's such a good game series. I have nothing but good things to say about it. I don't care. That's one of the hills I will always die on. For me, it's the greatest game series ever made. And it has one thing in it, I think, that a lot of games nowadays lack. But there are still some good games now out that actually have this mechanic, which I still enjoy. But having a fully voiced character, a custom character that actually has a voice. I love Fallout. Fallout 4 was awesome because your character actually had a voice. And I love Skyrim, but I'm not a big fan of the silent protagonist type. I would love for my character in Skyrim to actually have legitimate conversations with a voice.
And the same with Baldur's Gate 3 as well.
Yep.
For if your character would be able to talk, because you can choose a voice for your character in the beginning.
But it's only when they make sound noises, cast spells, and stuff like that. I mean, that's cool. That's great and all, but I would love for the main protagonist to be fully voiced, because it gives you that extra layer of connection.
Yeah.
You create Shepard from scratch in Mass Effect 1. You create his backstory, where he came from, what he's known for, and you have full freedom to make him a Paragon or a Renegade playthrough. So many freedoms, which would make part of making it into a series would make it a little difficult, because what would they do when it comes to, like, there are certain pinnacle moments where they have to make a Paragon or a Renegade decision, or they have to pick which teammate's gonna die, things like that.
Yeah.
So that part would be a little bit harder, unless they just be like, all right, so here's what most people did. Here's when they played through, bam, most people picked this. And I guarantee you, everyone punched the reporter at least once. Everyone does it. I did it through all 3 games. Every playthrough. It's one of the only times I use my Renegade, unless I'm doing a full Renegade playthrough, and that one always gets kind of dicey. But, in my opinion, yes, Mass Effect would be amazing to see brought to life, especially with the CGI we have now, and with casting, we could pretty much do a pretty good job. I think it could be done. It would just have to be very well done and very particular depending on what era they decide to pick. I think starting at the Turian Wars and the Krogan Wars would be a good place to start. They would have the most freedom and be able to kind of dip their toe in the waters, see the reactions. Kind of like how Fallout did. In that first season, they dropped the whole season. So they're like,
Yeah.
all right, we did this. How do you guys feel? All right, everyone loves it. All right, season 2. Cool. Something like that. That could work out. I think if it did something like teamed up with Netflix, or if it teamed up with Amazon, or if it teamed...
Hulu or
no, probably not Hulu.
HBO.
Again,
They could.
HBO is just a service that shows them. It's not anything to do with their production.
Oh, okay.
But I would definitely want it done correctly if they're going to venture that far. Even try doing Andromeda's storyline. I know every single Mass Effect fan, their sphincter just slammed shut, but they could do it, and it could be a test to see how we would react, I guess. But that is like scraping bottom barrel in my mind on where they could go with this. It could go well if done right. Is
Yeah.
basically my key point here.
Yeah.
I should have warned you. She actually let me let loose today and talk. So, have fun.
I would say if I got to choose a game or a game series that would turn into a movie or a TV show, I would pick Hellblade.
Hellblade would be an amazing one.
Yes, because especially so I love the first one. The first one is so good, and it takes you so long to get into it, and I really like the hang on.
Dog is being a pain. There we go.
He wants to join in.
Yes, he wants to join. He has all the opinions.
Yes. But yeah, so I would love to see Hellblade because it just feels like there's so much they can do. And with the backstory, since it's being Norse, there's so much extra they can bring with it. Because in the first game, we get to know the backstory of how Senua ended up where she is. So they could also do a prequel or show that in a TV show they could start from there leading up to where the game is and then continue.
I would be careful with that one, in my opinion. I'd be careful with going too far away from the story on that, trying to make up the whole purpose as to why she has all this
That's
stuff.
why I'm just saying maybe a few 2-3 episodes to be able to show
Kind of like the flashbacks.
yes.
In the game. I think they as long as they did them as a flashback, they could probably pull that off. I mean, Game of Thrones pulled up flashbacks, flash forwards, flash sideways, flashed him, flash her. It was always doing all these flashes, so I'm pretty sure they could just have it via that way as well.
They could.
Like when she's camping, or when she's laying down in bed at night, how they come to her in her dreams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They could do all that sort of stuff. They can keep
And
it.
it's also she gets the flashbacks through some of the hallucinations as well, so you can also get it that way. What I was disappointed in though is the second Senua game that just came out, Hellblade 2, because I personally hyped it up so much
Same.
because I loved the first game.
And they waited so
And
dang long to
they waited-
release it.
They did. They waited so long to release it, and then I finished it within 10 hours. It didn't even take me 10 hours to finish the game. Granted, the second one is also really good. They go
very short.
Yeah, it's very short. They go a different way about it. You still have all the voices, the hallucination and stuff like that, but it brings in other characters, which I thought was really cool. So, and I think that would help as well. I'm just very cautious as to how they would go about making it, especially if they would base it on the second or the first game, because it is very dark, very gloomy. You have one part of the game you're in pitch black and can only
Fenrir.
work based on your sound, so you need to have the headphones on, volume on max to be able to hear, and it's
So hard because you have
grues-
you have 10, 20 voices going on all at once, and you have to like try and listen through the voices.
Yes.
And pick out the one that is actually trying to help you in that moment, and then have enough reaction time to be able to hear that and then do the action.
Yeah.
It's almost Souls-like reaction time you have to have in order to play those games.
It was really, like, the way they made the game, though, they were very accurate with, since the hallucinations, the voices and everything, because they took, I don't know how many people that are schizophrenic, that hear voices and everything,
and
they brought them in to help them build the game.
Mental psychosis, all these sort of things, and they studied them, they analyzed them. There's actually, if you got the first game, there's a whole video in there that actually explains the making of the game and their whole process.
Like they go so into it, and they did their research because they wanted to make it as real as possible, which is also why they have the huge disclaimer in the beginning of the game.
Take that warning seriously. I was with someone who had mental psychosis at the time. She played it for an hour. I don't think she slept for almost 4 days after that. She was not doing great. It was not good days. But it's a great game series.
It is. It's a great game series. First time I played it, I got almost a full-blown panic attack. Remember that?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
It was insane. But I love it. I have played it through so many times, and it's always something I venture back to.
Yep. Same with the Mass Effect games. Doesn't matter how many times I play it. If I start them, that's all that exists. That is the game that I'm playing now for the next 200 hours. And I'm not exaggerating, 200 hours. If you do start from fresh on a brand new character on Mass Effect 1, you should not be able to beat the game under 60 hours. Should not, especially with the DLCs. DLCs add so much more, especially in 3. Oh, the Citadel DLC in 3, to this day, still makes me emotional. It is still, hands down, the greatest DLC ever created for a video game. And it's amazing. And it breaks my heart. But it's amazing.
What would you say about... What do you think if they would make Kingdom Hearts?
I don't want Disney doing that. No, not right now. No.
No, Disney doesn't have to do it.
It's a Disney game.
Square Enix owns it too.
Yeah, but they use all of Disney's characters. Disney is the whole thing.
And Disney uses the Square Enix characters. It goes both ways.
I don't think it does for that. I think there's a lot of legal issues that could be run there if they just decide to, fuck it, let's just try the mouse. Don't try the mouse. Don't try the mouse. That's not the one you want to take on.
How about Donald Duck?
I mean, again, Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse,
I know,
Goofy are like pinnacle key characters in the entire thing.
Pluto,
well, fuck Pluto. You know what?
What?
Fuck Pluto, okay?
Why?
Chasing that dog around in the first Traverse Town was a fucking nightmare.
But it's Pluto.
I don't care. So, okay, here's my question then. It's Pluto. Why can all the other animals in this kingdom talk except Pluto?
Can the chipmunks talk?
Yes. Chippendale? Yes.
Yeah?
They help you build your ship.
Oh.
They're the engineers.
Pluto never learned to
I
talk.
think Pluto has some sort of Down syndrome, never was able to learn, and Mickey was just keeping him as a pet. But in their world, that's weird because they're like mouse, dog, animals. So, but to them that's people. So is Pluto his slave?
No, but they have other animals too. So you have Pluto, that's a dog.
Yes.
But they also
Goofy is also a dog. Why can Goofy talk, but Pluto not?
But they also have cats, cows, that are just the animal. And then you have the characters They can talk.
I'm not getting a lot of confidence behind that answer. You're really having to start to stretch out here. I'm thinking Pluto was just bonkers. But moving on to the next category.
I was gonna say, we gotta watch what we say about Disney.
I know. Don't piss off the mouse. Sorry, mouse. Just, it's a question. I'm sure a lot of people have wondered over the years, but, you know.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm really intrigued with this new series that's coming out that's based on a video game series, and that's the BioShock.
Yeah.
Super excited, but super nervous about BioShock becoming a TV show, just based on the fact that it is a very, very, very dark, morbid, and terrible game.
There is already so many TV shows that are very dark, morbid.
Yeah, but they still try to keep their they try to toe the line when it comes to kids.
That is
So
true.
much of this game is based on whether or not you save or murder the children.
That's true.
And the children are not innocent by any means. They run around with little fucking giant-ass needles that they can plunge into people, suck out their plasma, and drink it. It is not a light-hearted game. And, Argo, they have the big fucking
Big brother.
daddies.
Oh yeah, the daddy.
They have the fucking daddies, and that's a whole nother fucking monster right there to deal with. One of the first scenes you see him in is literally him driving a guy into a wall and drilling him. Blood everywhere. It's not a light-hearted thing.
What if they turned it, since there's several different BioShock games?
No, there's only two. We
Oh,
don't count
two.
the third.
Okay.
The third
Well,
doesn't count.
What if they would make a movie per game instead of a
No,
TV
another
show?
one of those things. It would be you wouldn't be able to put up enough detail into it. It's a pretty long game, and
It is.
It's got a lot of lore in it.
I'm more thinking in the sense of if they would make the TV show, have the TV show, but also make horror movies out of it.
They could. I
Because
mean,
if they would make a horror movie, they necessarily don't need all of the lore that they would have to put in if they made a TV
they
show.
could do it at the time of when Rapture falls, when everything starts to go to shit, and again give a run up of how things got to where they were to test it, and then go from there.
Yeah.
It'd be another one of those ones that if they want more freedom, they do the Fall of Rapture. If they want to do more fan pleasing and sticking by the book, then they do the first two games. Don't touch the third one. It's awful.
The thing is, though, in my opinion, when it comes to making TV shows or stuff or movies based on books and games, it is that you can't bring too much of the lore, but you definitely can't take too much out. You need to keep a certain amount.
You need to get the main basis of the lore,
Yes,
at least.
the main basis of the lore, because especially like with the Harry Potter books, for example, like
There's a lot left out.
Yeah, in the movies.
Lord of the Rings, there's a lot left out.
Yeah, so it's that's where my thought process goes. That if they, depending on, they want to make it more lore based, they can still do it and take away some of the lore that is not as crucial.
Yeah, they can take away the things that aren't part of the main plot.
Yeah.
If it takes away from the main plot in any way, then keep it. But if it goes outside the lore to do a side story or something like that,
No.
keep that and save that for later, for when you want to go back and refer to it in a different time period of it, or a different area in the story.
Yeah.
You can do that. That I could see being done quite easily, but just keep the main story build up. Like you would need to, if just Fall of Rapture, just keep to the Fall of Rapture, and you can go as brutal as you want. There's no no depiction, no nothing of how the Fall of Rapture went. It's just talked about the Fall of Rapture a bunch. So you would have a lot of freedom to be able to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I've actually been lately watching that Lord of the Rings Ring of Power show.
Yeah.
It's... I mean, I don't see why it's got so much hate, which is weird coming from me. I'm a guy who... Star Wars.
We don't talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, we don't talk about Star Wars. I'm only on episode like 4 or 5 right now of the first season, and I know there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of plots issues, but all in all, I'm just like I'm just here for what they're telling me and what's going to happen, so I can see. I want to see the next season because it's got a lot of cool fight scenes in it from
But
what I was seeing in the preview.
It could also be that if they, like in the beginning of a show, it's very hard to jam pack with so much lore. So it's always something they can build up and bring in more and more and more throughout.
Yeah, most definitely, especially the bigger the game.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like.
Oh my god! Imagine if they did a Skyrim movie or TV show. Oh my god!
Yeah,
that'd be dope. And they'd have a lot to work with, considering the fact that the protagonist is voiceless. So another one though, there's so much lore, but they could do so much with it. Oh my god, they can do a spin-off of the Daedric, all the Daedric lords. Like Sheogorath is the awesome one, just so everyone knows who hasn't played. If you haven't, I don't know how, but if you haven't played Skyrim or Oblivion,
I played Oblivion, but not a lot of Skyrim.
Which is weird because it's the Norse game.
I know.
She loves Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as tragic as that sounds, but she has not played a lot of Skyrim, which is all Nordic based.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the one and only Assassin's Creed I have played.
Another tragic thing. I'm sorry for all the Assassin's Creed lovers, because I know that was painful for me to listen to.
But going back to BioShock, what if they made movies out of it? They could split it up, like first game they can split up in several different movies, so it's not just one movie jam-packed with everything from the first game. And they did it in Doom style, when you're first person.
That would not work.
Why not?
Mostly due to the fact that a lot of people couldn't handle that. It would make them motion sick.
But they could, I'm not saying all the time, but they could do it like in the Doom movie, that you have a certain time, like bits and pieces.
I love that scene.
Where they do it first person, like
I would only do that
when you do the puzzles.
No, the only time I would ever do that is when the Big Daddy is present. Just through the Big Daddy's eyes. That is the only time I want to see first person, because massive mayhem and gore and just awesome. Big Daddies are just fucking awesome.
That would be cool.
I think that, like, the second game for me was my favorite because you were a Big Daddy. And yeah. Fucking yeah. Gratuitous over the top violence. Murica. That's just how it is. I love that game. Hated the third game, obviously.
I don't even think I've seen you play the third game.
BioShock Infinite. It's basically Atomic Heart.
I've heard you talk about it.
It's It's so bad. It's so bad. And so bad. And the story is so fucking confusing because there's like 3 parallel fucking storylines involved. Doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. We're not even going to try and dissect that. That would be like me trying to explain the Kingdom Hearts storyline to Amanda. I can't even get through like a first starting paragraph of what Kingdom Hearts is before she has completely lost all sense of what I'm saying. And that would take a whole episode just to try and explain that shit.
We can do that as a future episode. But
I mean, I'm going to have to actually get a script ready for that one. I can
tell you right now, the chances of me keeping attention to you for that long while you try to explain it, just be prepared. I might...
I mean, you could ask questions. Because you'll have so many of them. I don't think you'll be able to zone out because after the
I'm
first
not
two
say-
sentences, it's going to start, okay,
I'm
what's this
not-
mean? What's
I'm
that?
not saying
What's
that I
this?
would zone out. I'm saying that it would be too confusing and I would lose interest in
It's
trying
a
to
hard
understand.
storyline to talk about. Hard storyline. Again, I'd have to get a whole script ready to try and even begin to explain it in a way that even people who have played it understand it.
We will do that as a future episode. Maybe not the next one. It can be a few episodes ahead. But
If people want it, they can request it. But
yes.
I'm not going out of my way to try and do that shit.
But I think this is the end of our first episode.
I think so.
I think so.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed listening to our rant. Basically, my rant. It's gonna happen. You'll get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it.
If you get me on a topic that I like talking about, I will never shut up. So she has to cap me.
And the more high pitched he gets and the faster he talks, then it's something he really likes, because he gets his voice go up several octaves.
I sound like an auctioneer at one point. When I get super excited into something,
Yeah.
I sound like one of those auctioneer guys going off.
He does, and you catch every third word if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But that's how you know it is something he burns about.
Yeah, it's bad sometimes.
But yeah, I'd say thank you again for listening and
We
watching.
appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.
I'll be here.
Bye.